Man, basketball. Playing some basketball. Okay. All right. All right. Hi, my name is TL Foster. I am a gaming podcaster and also a journalist. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. So I always knew I wanted to do something in video games. I just didn't know what it would be, right? So when I first started, I thought I was going to make video games, and I went to school to be a software engineer. That's what I wanted to do. And it just turns out I wasn't the best student. Then around like 2010, I started listening to a podcast called Talk Radar, which was Games Radar's like weekly podcast show. And it was a lot of people that, like, personally, it felt like I knew who they were. At the time, to me, it felt very like clinical and analytical and stuff like that. Like, these are people like I knew that I would be around, and it opened the world to me like, oh wait, I could get into this world of games journalism. So my first attempt was a small website called PTFGN, which was us trying to use the IGN, like, hey, it's a name, but it's an acronym thing. And ours was Play the Fucking Game Now, because we were fucking kids, right? But we ended up making it as more of a front-facing Past the Future Gaming News. And it was really fun, but it's really hard because when you're not a named person, it's really hard to get your name out there. It's really hard to establish and build something without having an exposure point or whatever. So, like, we were, 5, 6, 7 people, like, building a website from scratch, learning like the ins and outs, learning what SEO was and everything like that without any guidance. And then also, like, there is a visibility problem with like people of color in this space, especially like Black journalists. So like, it was just very hard to get to that point where we were actually making a name for ourselves. And then a lot of us actually went and moved over to another site, which was called Front Towards Gamer. This was run by a good friend of mine, Steven Machuga. And it was another stepping stone. And to me, that's where I kind of matured as a journalist. Like, as a Black journalist, it's really hard because at the time, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me there. So it was a very discouraging thing. And you felt like every time you would get a rejection, that, hey, is there a space for me in this world, right? And like, not to say that there weren't people who were working, it's just that, unfortunately, because these people weren't so front-facing, like myself, I didn't really see these people out there. So it's almost like a discouraging, like, I don't know if I can make it because you don't see people who look like you there. So when I think about like the difference in color, or like the difference of like perception of like people of color, I look at, people who had, like, it's weird to call them contemporaries, but I think of them like at a higher pedestal, right? But that's like where I'm thinking. But I think of someone like Khalif Adams, who has been doing this forever, and like, it really took for like this year for like a wide audience to get, to give him his shine, right? I look at someone like my friend Rihanna Manuel, who's been doing really cool things in the game space, and like now she's getting a lot of shine. I look at someone like Paris Lilly and the guys over there at Gamertag Radio, who've been doing like a radio show, a video game radio show by predominantly people of color. They've been doing this for like over 12 years of just like, 12, almost 20 years, like 12 years I think of podcasting, almost 20 years of game coverage. And just like the fact that these people aren't household names, like that's, to me, that it's bugging. Cause like, it freaks me out, because I think of, if these people were white, they would be like, you would know them. They would be like your Greg Millers, your Chris Kohlers, your Jeff Keighley's, but it just seems like there's always a barrier for people like us who are there, right? And it's something that's like frustrating. And I know that's something that a lot of people are saying like, hey, this is what we want to get past. But I think we have to constantly like look to how to move past those barriers and how to move to that next spot. And again, being a person of color, like I actively look at, you know, me being a male making it a lot easier. Like the fact that I have to see now a lot of women who are in this space, especially Black women who are in this space, who constantly like have to get questioned on what they know, like what is gaming to them. And it's like, to me, it's always doubly weird because my mom was the gamer before me, right? My sister like plays video games. So to me, I've just never lived in a world where Black women didn't play video games, where Black people didn't play video games. Like I remember going to my best friend's house to go and play, you know, on a modded PlayStation. And it wasn't me going over a white dude's house. It was me going over a Filipino dude's house where it was just nothing but Black people and Filipinos and us going and playing on a modded PlayStation, right? So it's always been weird, like when I hear these things, and like it just seems like so odd that gaming can be so white-facing when all I know is gaming to be colored. One of the things that I am like very happy about, and if I helped a little bit of this, it's cool, is just like my optimism of where we go into the future when it comes to diversity and seeing different faces and voices of different ethnicities and genders, you know, being represented in the games, you know, industry. For a long time, it's just been the old boys club, and like it feels really shitty because like everyone's, you know, kind of like not in that kind of mentality when it comes like, I guess like socially political, right? But that's what it was. It's like your friends, and I get that aspect of like wanting to get your friends, but especially like the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of bigger companies and bigger like groups start to branch out and get more people and have a more diverse voice. It's one of the things I'm proudest of is me doing, I talked about like being a fan of Talk Radar and then going and doing their new podcast, Video Game Apocalypse, and pushing for like Black History Month, having different Black creators, pushing for different voices and making it known like these things, when we talk about diversity efforts, when we talk about these specialized months, when we talk about Black History Month or you know, Pride Month or like anything like that, we have to stop looking at the finite of a month. And we have to start looking at how these things work as a collective, as time. Because there's a creator out there who is a trans creator that you love that you don't even know yet. There's a Latinx creator that you love that you don't even know yet. There's a woman creator that you love that you don't even know yet. There's a Black creator you love that you don't even know yet. And that's what I think we're going to get to. We're going to get to the part where we start seeing people who aren't just the same white dudes, right? And again, this is not me saying, hey, get rid of white dudes. I'm wanting to max it off. No more white dudes, right? No, there's still a place for them, right? But we have to realize, like, just like I said earlier, gaming has always been multicultural. Gaming has always been multi-generational. And the more we look and make what we present gaming as representative of what gaming actually is, I think that's when we actually get to a part where this is all worth it. This is all great.